The roar of engines shattered the morning calm. Rebecca froze, clutching Jamin's note in one hand and her bag in the other. Her breath quickened as shadows moved outside the bamboo trees. Dark silhouettes with guns, advancing fast. Her first thought wasn't of fear. It was him. Where was Jamin? The villa door rattled. "Rebecca Monroe!" A man's voice shouted, American, deep, commanding. "Come out quietly, and we won't have to break the door." Her heart pounded. She backed away, scanning the room. There was only one way out, the narrow hallway that led to the back garden. She grabbed her hoodie and ran. The back door creaked as she slipped outside. Cold wind bit her skin. She ran barefoot through the bamboo grove, every step heavy with panic. The world blurred. Leaves, mud, branches slapping her face, until she reached a narrow road. A car's headlights flared in the distance. She turned, ready to run again, until she saw who stepped out. Jamin, blood on his shirt, bruised face, eyes sharp and alive. "Rebecca!" he shouted, sprinting toward her. She didn't think. She ran to him, crashing into his arms. The relief that flooded through her chest made her knees weak. "You're late," she whispered, trembling. He exhaled against her hair. "And you're loud. Despite everything." She let out a small, shaky laugh. But before either could speak, another gunshot split the air. They ducked as bullets hit the nearby fence. Jamin grabbed her hand, dragging her toward the car. "Get in." They dove inside. Tires screeched as he slammed the accelerator. The car tore down the mountain road, wind whipping through the broken window. Rebecca's heart raced. "Who are they?" "The Americans. But they're not your father's men anymore. They've turned on him." "Why?" "Because your father stole something from all of us." She blinked. "What are you talking about?" He didn't answer immediately. His knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. Finally, he said quietly, "There's money, billions, hidden under a false company your father created with my father before he died. They called it Project Soul Dawn." Rebecca frowned. "And that has what to do with me?" He looked at her, pain flickering in his eyes. "You were the insurance, Rebecca. Your marriage to me was supposed to merge both families so the money would be safe." Her stomach turned. "So that's it? I'm just another deal." Jamin slowed the car, pulling into a secluded tunnel. He parked, breathing hard. "No, not anymore." She stared at him. "Then what am I now?" He met her gaze, his voice low. "The only thing keeping me human." The silence that followed was thick, heavy with all the words they hadn't said. Rebecca looked away, blinking fast. "You don't have to protect me." "Yes, I do," he said. "Because they'll come for you until they find what your father hid. And if they catch you before I do, you'll lose me," she finished quietly. He didn't deny it. They spent hours driving through narrow country roads until they reached a fishing village at the edge of the coast. The sea stretched endlessly, waves hitting the rocks like whispers of old secrets. Jamin rented a small cabin from an old man who didn't ask questions. Inside, it smelled of wood smoke and salt. Rebecca sat by the fire while Jamin cleaned his wounds silently. She watched him. The steady movements of his hands, the faint tremor of exhaustion he tried to hide. "You should rest," she said softly. "I can't. You never can." He looked up, a faint smile curving his lips. "You're learning how I think too quickly." She smiled weakly. "That's what happens when you keep saving me." His gaze softened. "I don't save you because I have to. I save you because I want to." The words hit her like warmth spreading through her veins. For a long moment, neither spoke. The crackling fire filled the silence. When she finally whispered, "Why do you care, Jamin?" He didn't answer right away. He just stared into the flames, as if searching for something buried in them. Then, quietly, he said, "Because I know what it's like to be used by the people you love." Her breath caught. "My father forced me into this world. I swore I'd never repeat his sins. But then you came. A deal. A stranger. And suddenly, everything I promised myself started to change." He looked at her then, eyes raw, voice barely a whisper. "You make me forget who I was." Rebecca's throat tightened. The truth in his words stripped her defenses away. She reached out, hesitating, then touched his hand. It was cold, rough, scarred, but steady. Maybe that's not a bad thing, she said softly. Their eyes met, long, deep, unspoken. The world outside disappeared. Only the firelight danced between them. Hours later, Rebecca couldn't sleep. She lay awake listening to the waves, her mind replaying his words over and over. You make me forget who I was. She turned and saw him still sitting by the fire, head bowed, half asleep, quiet strength wrapped in exhaustion. Without thinking, she walked over and knelt beside him. Hey, she whispered. He stirred. You should be sleeping. So should you. He gave a tired smile. Can't. Too many ghosts. Rebecca hesitated, then said, You don't have to face them alone anymore. Jamin looked at her, really looked at her, and something inside him broke. Slowly, he reached up, brushing a strand of hair from her face. The touch was gentle, trembling. Rebecca! She didn't move. Their faces were inches apart, the firelight painting gold across their skin. I'm not afraid of you anymore, she whispered. Good, he breathed. Because I was never your enemy. Her heart raced. Then what are you? He smiled faintly. The man who'd burn the world to keep you safe. The space between them vanished, and the world outside faded into nothing but the sound of waves and a heartbeat that wasn't hers. The morning sky bled into shades of gray as the sea roared like an angry beast. Rebecca stood frozen on the porch, staring at the approaching black boat slicing through the waves. The sound of its engine echoed through the quiet coastal air. Her stomach clenched. It wasn't a fishing boat. It was sleek, armored, and fast. They found us, she whispered. Jamin was already moving. His sharp instincts had woken the moment he heard that sound. He loaded a handgun, tucked it into his belt, and grabbed the small black duffel from under the table. Rebecca, he said firmly, take only what you can carry. She blinked, panic flaring in her chest. Where will we go? The old fishing tunnels under the cliffs, he said. They're connected to the mainland by an old drainage passage. No one knows about it, except me. Rebecca nodded, trembling as she shoved her passport, phone, and the note from her father into her pocket. Her hands shook as she zipped the small backpack. Jamin caught her wrist gently. Look at me. She did. You trust me? Her breath hitched. I don't know who to trust anymore. Then trust how I look at you, he said quietly. Because I've never looked at anyone like that before. For a moment the world stopped. The roar of the approaching boat grew louder, snapping them back to reality. Let's go, he ordered. They sprinted through the narrow path behind the cabin, weaving between wet rocks and tall grass. The ocean wind whipped Rebecca's hair into her face. Every muscle in her body screamed, but she didn't stop. Behind them, gunshots rang out, sharp, deadly cracks tearing through the air. Bullets splintered tree trunks as they ducked into the forested cliffside. Keep low, Jamin shouted. She crawled after him through the slippery mud until they reached a jagged hole in the ground covered with vines. Jamin pushed them aside, revealing a hidden entrance. In here, he said, motioning her in first. Rebecca hesitated only for a second, then slid down into the narrow tunnel. It was dark, damp, and cold. The faint smell of salt and rust filled her nose. Jamin followed, pulling the vines back over the entrance before switching on a small flashlight. Stay close, he murmured. They moved deeper into the underground passage. Water dripped from the walls, and the faint echo of waves thundered above them. Rebecca's breath came out ragged. How did you even know this place existed? She asked. Jamin's voice was low. My father used to bring me here when I was a kid. Said it was our escape route, if anything went wrong. She gave a humorless laugh. Guess fathers always plan for disasters. He didn't reply. The silence between them stretched until it became heavy, full of unspoken guilt and loss. Finally, she whispered, You said something last night about Project Soul Dawn, that my father used me. He nodded. Yes. Then why are you still helping me? Jamin stopped walking. The flashlight beam trembled slightly as he turned to face her. Because I'm done living for revenge. His voice was soft but steady. And because, somewhere between all the running and fighting, I stopped seeing you as his daughter. I started seeing you. Rebecca swallowed hard. And who am I? His eyes glowed faintly under the dim light. The woman who makes me want to live differently. The air between them thickened. Her pulse quickened. Jae-min. Before either could say another word, a deafening blast shook the tunnel. The ground trembled beneath them. Dust rained from the ceiling. They're bombing the entrance, he shouted. Move! Rebecca ran, coughing through the smoke. The tunnel twisted sharply before opening into a wider chamber that led to a small stream of seawater trickling through a gap in the rocks. There! Jae-min pointed. That leads to the drainage outlet. We can follow it out to the harbor. She nodded, adrenaline taking over. They crawled through the narrow opening, water, soaking their clothes. Finally, after what felt like forever, they emerged under an old bridge at the edge of a deserted port. Rebecca gasped for air, collapsing on the wet sand. Jae-min climbed out beside her, scanning the surroundings. The coast was empty, only a few broken boats and crates scattered by the wind. For the first time in hours, silence. They sat side by side, breathing hard. Rebecca turned to him. What now? Jae-min looked toward the distant skyline of Seoul. Now we find who betrayed us. Betrayed? She frowned. He nodded. No one should have known we were at that cabin. That means someone I trusted told them. Who? He exhaled slowly, eyes dark. My cousin Miho. Rebecca blinked. The one who runs your tech companies? The same, he said bitterly. He's been helping the Americans move funds under our radar. And I think he's the one who leaked your location. Rebecca's jaw tightened. Then let's find him. Jae-min looked at her, a faint smirk tugging his lips. You're not scared anymore? I am, she said honestly. But I'm more tired of running than afraid of dying. He studied her, admiration flickering across his face. You're stronger than you think. And you're softer than you pretend, she replied. A silence followed, warm, charged, magnetic. The waves crashed gently behind them as the sun broke through the clouds. For a brief moment, the chaos faded, and it was just the two of them. Broken souls clinging to the edge of something real. Rebecca turned to him, voice trembling. What happens if we don't make it? Jae-min leaned closer, eyes locked on hers. Then at least I'll die with the only person who made me feel alive. Her heart stuttered. The confession hung in the air like a dangerous promise. She didn't speak. She just leaned forward, slowly, uncertainly, until their foreheads touched. His breath brushed her lips, warm and unsteady. Rebecca, he whispered, his voice rough with restraint. If I kiss you now, I won't stop. Then don't, she breathed. And he didn't. The world disappeared as his lips found hers. Slow at first, then desperate, full of everything they had been denying. Salt, fire, fear, and longing melted together in that single heartbeat. Her hands tangled in his shirt, pulling him closer. His fingers traced her jaw, down to her neck, then her waist. The kiss deepened, raw and electric. It wasn't just a kiss. It was a breaking point. The collision of pain and passion that had been building between them since the first night he saw her cry. When they finally pulled apart, breathless and trembling, Rebecca whispered, "What was that for?" Jaemin's eyes were dark and unreadable. "For surviving. For still being here. For you." She smiled faintly, tears glimmering. "You talk too much for a Mafia boss." He chuckled softly, pressing his forehead against hers. "Only around you." That night, they stayed hidden in a small abandoned warehouse by the docks. Rain fell steadily outside, tapping against the metal roof. Rebecca lay beside Jae-min on the cold floor, wrapped in his jacket. For once, there were no lies, no masks. Only two hearts that had found each other in the ruins of their worlds. But just as her eyes began to close, Jaemin's phone buzzed. He frowned, checking the screen. The message read, "You can't protect her forever. Seoul Dawn belongs to us. Miho." Jaemin's jaw tightened. He turned off the phone and looked at Rebecca sleeping peacefully beside him. He brushed a strand of hair from her face, whispering, "I'll protect you, even if it kills me." Outside, thunder rolled across the sea, the storm far from over. The storm had passed. Soft daylight filtered through the shattered roof of the warehouse, falling over cracked walls and the two bodies lying side by side on the floor. Rebecca opened her eyes slowly. For a moment, she couldn't tell if the silence meant peace or danger. Then she saw Jaemin. He was already awake, sitting near the doorway with a gun resting across his knees. His white shirt was torn, and his eyes were dark from sleeplessness. "You didn't rest," she said quietly. He turned, a faint smile flickering across his tired face. "Didn't need to. We're leaving soon." Rebecca pushed herself up, rubbing her arms against the morning chill. "Where?" "To the old district," he said. "My mother had a house there. No one knows about it. We can disappear for a while." Before she could answer, a dull metallic sound echoed outside. Tires, engines, voices. Jaemin's expression hardened. Too late. Rebecca's pulse spiked. "Miho?" He didn't reply. He was already on his feet, scanning the window. A dozen black vans slid silently into view, men stepping out with guns. "They tracked us faster than I thought." He pulled her toward the back door. "Move!" They sprinted into the open air just as glass shattered behind them. Bullets ripped through the walls. Rebecca ducked, adrenaline flooding her veins. Jaemin fired back, sharp and controlled, covering her as they ran between stacked crates. "Left!" she shouted, pointing toward the dockyard road. He nodded, grabbing her hand. They darted across the open space, the smell of salt and oil thick in the air. Rainwater splashed under their feet as the sound of gunfire chased them. An explosion tore through the warehouse behind them, the heat pressing against their backs. Rebecca stumbled, coughing. "We're not going to make it." "Yes, we are." Jaemin snapped, yanking her behind a container. His face was streaked with dirt and blood, but his eyes burned with resolve. "Stay behind me." He shot twice, taking down two. Men closing in. Another bullet whizzed past Rebecca's shoulder. She ducked, grabbing a metal pipe and hurling it toward one attacker. It hit him square in the jaw. Jaemin glanced at her in surprise. "Remind me never to make you angry." "Noted," she panted. They ran again. This time, luck favored them. An abandoned delivery van sat idling near the corner, engines still running. They jumped in. Jaemin slammed the gear and the van lurched forward, tires screeching as they sped out of the docks and onto the open road. Behind them, the port shrank into smoke and chaos. Hours later, the city loomed ahead, Seoul's skyline cutting through the gray clouds. Rebecca leaned her head against the window, breathing heavily. "How long have they been after you?" "Since before you came," he said quietly. "Miho's been waiting for me to fall, and my father helped him." Jaemin's knuckles tightened on the wheel. "Maybe not directly, but your father's deal started this war." Silence filled the van. The words stung, but Rebecca didn't flinch. "Then I'll help you end it." He looked at her, something soft flickering beneath the hard edges of his face. "You don't owe me that." "I do. Because if you die because of me, I'll never forgive myself." He didn't answer, but the small curve at the corner of his mouth said enough. By nightfall, they reached a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Seoul, a place untouched by the city's chaos. Narrow streets lined with old houses, cherry trees swaying in the wind. "This way," Jaemin murmured. They slipped into a small courtyard behind a crumbling wall. The wooden door creaked open to reveal a beautiful old hammock, simple, peaceful, and hidden. Inside, everything was preserved. Soft curtains, faded paintings, a half-burned candle on the table. Felt frozen in time. "She used to paint here," Jaemin said quietly, looking at a watercolor by the window. "When I was little, she'd tell me love is the only thing that can survive violence." Rebecca walked closer. "She sounds like someone who saw too much of it." He nodded slowly. She did. They stood there for a long moment, surrounded by silence and memories. Then Rebecca's hand brushed his arm. "You saved me more times than I can count. Let me take care of you now." She guided him to sit down, cleaning a cut on his arm with a towel from the sink. He hissed in pain. "Stay still," she said gently. "You sound like you've done this before." "I used to help the maids when my father got into fights," she said quietly. "Someone always came home bleeding." He watched her work, her fingers light, her eyes steady. When she finished, he caught her wrist. "Rebecca." She looked up. "You could have left. Why didn't you?" Her throat tightened. Because somewhere between hating you and running for my life, I started needing you. The words hung in the air, fragile and real. Jaemin rose slowly, his gaze never leaving hers. You shouldn't. I know, she whispered. He took one step closer. But I do too. The distance between them vanished. His hand brushed her cheek. She leaned into the touch. Their lips met, a soft, trembling kiss that deepened as all their walls crumbled. He kissed her again, slower, like he was learning her heartbeat. Her fingers curled into his shirt, and for the first time, there was no fear, only warmth, the kind that made everything outside fade. When they broke apart, Rebecca's eyes glistened. Is this real, Jaemin? He cupped her face, voice low. It's the only thing that's ever been real. She smiled faintly. Then don't let go. He didn't. He pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her as if the world could end and he'd still hold her. The rain started again, light and steady, tapping against the roof. They stayed like that, two people who'd fought against everything, finally finding peace in each other's arms. Hours later, Rebecca drifted into sleep beside him on the floor, wrapped in his jacket. Jaemin watched her, tracing her hand gently before whispering, I swear I'll keep you safe, even if it kills me. Outside, the city lights flickered through the rain, and somewhere in the dark, a phone buzzed. Message from Miho. Enjoy your peace while it lasts, cousin. The game just changed. Jaemin's eyes hardened. He turned off the phone and looked down at Rebecca, sleeping quietly beside him. Not this time, he muttered. You won't touch her. The dawn light crawled across the floorboards of the old safe house, soft and golden after the long night. The air smelled of pine and rain. Rebecca sat by the window, wrapped in one of Jaemin's shirts, watching the street below through the thin paper curtains. The city was quiet, but not safe. She could feel it, danger breathing just beyond the walls. Behind her, Jaemin moved silently, checking his gun, sliding a fresh clip in place. The veins in his forearm stood out, tense and steady. He didn't have to say it. She already knew Miho would come. She turned to him. You didn't sleep. He gave a small smile. Neither did you. I tried, but my mind kept going back to the warehouse. She sighed softly. You said we'd be safe here. He met her eyes. For now. But Miho's men are ghosts. They'll find us. His tone was calm, but something in it broke her heart. That quiet resignation. The same tone he'd used when he told her about Miho the night before. How Miho wasn't just an enemy, but family. And how his own father, the man who had trained him to rule, had loved Miho more than him. Rebecca walked closer, touching his arm gently. You keep blaming yourself for things you didn't do. He looked away. Maybe, but that doesn't make the blood on my hands any lighter. Jay. She moved in front of him, forcing him to face her. You protected me. You fought for me. That's not guilt. That's love. He stared at her, his jaw tightening as if the word itself hurt. Love doesn't fix what I broke. Maybe not, she said softly, but it's the first thing that's made you human again. The words hung in the air like a fragile thread between them. He wanted to reach for her. He always did. But the sound outside stopped him cold. Car engine. Then another. Jaemin's entire body tensed. He moved to the window, pulling the curtain slightly. Black sedans. 3 of them. Rebecca, he said quietly. Get your things. Now. Her heart jumped. They found us. He nodded once. Miho doesn't waste time. Rebecca grabbed the small duffel they'd packed days ago. Jaemin opened a drawer, revealing a second pistol and 2 magazines. He handed one to her. I don't want to. You can. You already did back at the dock, he said firmly. Don't hesitate again. She nodded, even though her hands were shaking. The knock on the door came next. Calm, rhythmic, mocking. Knock, knock, knock. Jaemin motioned for Rebecca to stay low. He moved silently to the side of the door, his gun ready. The knock came again, louder. Then a voice. Smooth, familiar. Cousin. Rebecca's blood ran cold. Jaemin didn't answer. Come now. Miho's voice purred from outside. You know I hate chasing family. Let's talk like we used to. No more hiding. Rebecca looked at Jaemin. Don't open that door. He shook his head. If I don't, he'll burn this place down. He took a slow breath and pulled the latch. The door creaked open. Miho stood in the doorway, immaculate as ever. Black coat, silver chain at his neck, smile sharp enough to cut glass. Rain clung to his hair, and his eyes glowed with something darker than anger. "Hello, cousin," Miho said smoothly. "You look tired. Soul doesn't suit you anymore." Jaemin said nothing. Miho's gaze shifted to Rebecca, crouched near the wall. "And the famous insurance. Your father must be proud. Trading his daughter for empire." Rebecca's fingers tightened around the gun. Jaemin stepped between them. "You came for me. Leave her out of this." Miho chuckled. "You still think you can protect her? You couldn't even protect father." Jaemin's jaw clenched. "Don't use him against me." "Oh, but he used to say you'd never survive without me," Miho said softly, his tone dripping poison. "He said I had the heart of a leader. You just had rage." Rebecca could see the pain flash in Jaemin's eyes. This wasn't a battle of guns anymore. It was old scars reopened. "You killed him," Jaemin said, quietly. Miho smiled faintly. "No, cousin. He killed himself the day he chose me over you." Then everything exploded. A gunshot shattered the doorframe. Rebecca fired first, hitting one of Miho's guards in the shoulder. Chaos erupted. Jaemin pushed her toward the back hallway as bullets tore through the wooden walls. "Go!" he shouted. But Rebecca refused to leave him. She fired again, covering him as he moved for the window. Glass shattered. They dove through, landing hard in the wet grass outside. Smoke and dust clouded the air behind them. Jaemin pulled her up, his arm bleeding. "You okay?" She nodded breathlessly. "You? Alive?" They ran through the narrow alleys, gunfire echoing behind them. The city was waking up, sirens in the distance, the smell of rain and gasoline mixing in the air. When they finally stopped in an abandoned train yard, both were drenched, shaking, and silent. Rebecca turned to him, tears mixing with rain. "You can't keep running from your blood, Jay. It's killing you." He leaned back against the wall, chest heaving. "It's already killed everything else." She stepped closer, her hand trembling as she touched his face. "Not me." He looked at her, eyes dark and raw. "You're the only thing left worth saving." Rebecca's voice broke. "Then stop fighting alone." Jaemin hesitated, then pulled her into him. Not out of desperation, but surrender. The world could burn around them, and for a moment it didn't matter. Their lips met, rain still falling, their hearts pounding like the city itself. And in that broken, dangerous silence, they knew this wasn't the end. It was the storm before the reckoning. The rain had stopped, leaving Seoul washed in silver light. Rebecca and Jaemin had been running for hours, hiding in back streets and shadowed alleys. Now the city's noise felt far away. Only the echo of their footsteps and the faint hiss of wet pavement filled the air. They reached the edge of the river, where an old cargo terminal stood deserted. Steel beams rusted, neon signs long dead. Jaemin slowed, his breath visible in the cold. "He'll come here," he said quietly. "This place belonged to my father. He'll want to end it where it began." Rebecca nodded, her clothes heavy with rain, her pulse steady but fearful. She could sense it, the calm before another storm. A voice floated from the darkness. "Cousin, I knew you'd bring her here." Miho stepped out from behind a pillar, flanked by armed men. His coat hung open, his expression almost serene. "You always choose sentiment over survival." Jaemin raised his gun. "Let her go. This is between us." Miho smiled faintly. "It's never just between us. You think you can rewrite what our fathers started." He took a step closer, eyes gleaming. "You don't even know half of it." Rebecca spoke before Jaemin could. "Then tell me why my father died. Tell me why I was forced into this." Miho's smile widened, cruel and pitying. "You really don't know? Your father wasn't the victim everyone painted him to be. He stole from our family, sold our shipping routes, our weapon lists to the Americans. He tried to disappear with the money. My uncle ordered me to end him." Her stomach twisted. "That's not true." "It is," Miho said softly. "Your father's betrayal cost us everything. And to keep peace with his American allies, my uncle arranged a union. His son to the traitor's daughter. A trade of blood for silence. Rebecca's knees almost buckled. The pieces fell together. The forced marriage, her father's fear, Jamin's pain. He knew, she whispered. Jamin's voice broke. I knew. He'd made the deal, but I didn't know Miho was the one who pulled the trigger until years later. I wanted to protect you from that. Her eyes shimmered with tears. You protected me from the truth. I was afraid it would destroy what we had left. Miho tilted his head. Amused. Touching. But love doesn't erase bloodlines. You can't wash away what your family's built. He raised his gun. You're both debts waiting to be collected. Jamin moved first. The gunfire echoed across the dock. Flashes lighting the metal walls. Rebecca ducked behind a crate, heart pounding. She grabbed a fallen weapon and fired toward the shadows, keeping Jamin covered. Men fell. Smoke filled the air. Miho advanced through the haze like a ghost, calm, deliberate. A bullet grazed Jamin's shoulder, sending him to one knee. Miho aimed again, but Rebecca stepped out, hands trembling but steady enough to pull the trigger first. The shot struck Miho in the side. He staggered, disbelief flickering across his face. You were never supposed to be part of this. Rebecca's voice shook. Neither was he. Miho collapsed, the river wind whipping around them. His gun clattered across the floor and slid into the water below. Jamin limped toward her, blood soaking through his sleeve. It's over. She looked at him, tears falling freely. No, it's finally beginning. They stood there as the sirens grew closer, blue and red lights flashing against the gray dawn. Rebecca reached for his hand. You can still walk away. He shook his head. Not without you. When the police arrived, Jamin raised his hands. Rebecca stayed beside him, refusing to let go. Weeks later, the world looked different. The scandal of two mafia dynasties unraveling across continents filled every headline. Miho's empire was gone. The rest of the syndicate scattered. Rebecca visited Jamin in custody every day until the trial. When he was finally released under immunity, helping dismantle what remained of the network, they met again by the same river, the city lights reflecting gold on the water. He looked older, quieter, free. You should have gone home, he said softly. This is home now, she replied. Not because of the city, but because you're in it. He smiled, gentle, unguarded. What happens to two people who've already lost everything? She took his hand. They build something real. The wind carried the smell of rain again, but this time it wasn't heavy or cold. It was clean. Rebecca leaned into him, their silhouettes outlined by the neon glow of soul. No promises of forever, no more running. Just two souls finally free of their father's shadows. And when he whispered her name, it sounded like peace.
Hello besties, in this sweet story we learned that even firstborn can turn into true love when hearts learn to trust. Thank you so much for watching. Kindly like, subscribe and share.